Hello and welcome to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, my name is Mike Piowarski. I will be your co-host today. I'm the co-host from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most. Here on the Rundown, we're bringing you two-way views of conservative news. Mr. DeLuz, how was your weekend?
You know what, sir? It was phenomenal. It's the first weekend where I was actually able to be home for the weekend, where I didn't have some place that I had to be, or a film shoot, or a convention, or something like that. So it was fun. Got some yard work done. You know, it's always good to kind of pop on the headphones and do some stuff around the backyard. And actually also hit up a new Korean barbecue place here in Sacramento, kind of like the one we hit up in Vegas. So I was in a bit of a meat coma yesterday.
Miko, did they have goat? Did they find your goat?
They did not have goat. No, they did not.
Yeah. Korea makes good goat. They make good goat. So I don't know. Perhaps they found your runaway goat.
How was your weekend?
I was in Atlanta, or just outside Atlanta, in Athens, at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs! And a convention there this weekend for work, and long convention. Got home a couple hours ago, and ready to go. It rolled right into Monday. Trying to get home. So
That's how we roll.
good stuff. Good people.
We...
Great thing. Georgia. Listen, Georgia's wonderful, and it's that Athens, Georgia. If you've never been to Athens, Georgia, first off, there's no road to get there or no highway to get there. It's like literally like driving through people's neighborhoods for an hour and a half to get there from the Atlanta area. So it's just
we have areas like that in Sacramento. It's kind of funny because there's this one area in particular. It's like Citrus Heights, Orangevale, and the original plan was there was supposed to be a highway that was supposed to run like up through there, kind of like an interchange,
right,
to make it easier to get there. And eventually, Governor Moonbeam took that money and spent it somewhere else. So now the people get to sit in traffic both to and from, a ton of traffic both to and from work, trying to commute to and from those areas now.
There you go. See, no bueno.
No bueno. Well, let's go ahead and before we get into today's news items, please make sure, once again, however you are watching us, please make sure at this moment, right now, go ahead and like and share. If you're watching us on OpsLens, if you're listening to us on Apple iTunes. By the way, Apple Podcasts is the #1 source of where folks are listening to us. But you can get us wherever you get your podcasts. So check it out. Just look for the Rundown, 2A News, and Conservative Views, and we should pop up. You can also watch us on OpsLens, a phenomenal app that's out there. You can also watch it on your TV. Same thing with Spotify. You can also watch us now on Spotify. Not just listen. You can listen and/or watch on Spotify, or you can just do what you've been doing: YouTube, Facebook. But however you do it, please make sure you like and share and encourage your friends to do the same.
Pass us around.
All right, let's get into today's news. I'm sure you folks have seen this right here in Sacramento, California. There was a mass casualty event that took place that involved firearms. It took place late night in a downtown area. It was after clubs closed. It was after a concert. There appeared to be a shooting that involved 6 people dead, 12 people. The number has actually been increased. 12 people are now in the hospital. There are rumors out there that some of them are in very dire condition, so that the number of deaths may go up. And sure enough, Mike, as we always see in instances like this, the first thing that happens is the mayor of Sacramento, Darrell Steinberg, who used to be the president pro tem of the Senate, liberal left-winger, as well as the Governor Mussolini of California, come out and started talking about gun violence and the need for stricter gun laws. And as usual, Mike, and I'll say this is the second shooting or nationally known shooting that has taken place in the Sacramento region within a month. And you know, this is in a state with, Mike, the strictest gun laws in the country, according to both pro-gun and anti-gun folks. This is the place where everybody who wants gun control, every piece of gun control that they want, with the exception of banning guns, just about it exists. We have ammunition background checks. We have magazine capacity limits. We have banned ghost guns. We don't allow people under the age of 21 to purchase firearms. You name it, we've got it here in Sacramento, California. And yet and still, this happened. When are we going to admit that gun control does not work?
They're not going to, Craig. You know, when you started this, and you said we have this, national news breaking release coming out of Sacramento. I want you to know that it's nowhere in my news feeds on the East Coast. I've just checked 2 or 3 while you were talking, and I went off camera. It has not made the news feed for East Coast. And I'll tell you why, Craig, because it does not fit their agenda. There's no way they can stand up and say we need more gun control when your state has all the gun control that you can have. Okay, it does not meet their agenda. Now, if this had been, anything else, Craig, anywhere else, someplace else without the lack of gun control, someplace where if this had been Washington State with a high capacity magazine, right? If this had been somewhere else where they're still fighting to get more and more gun laws, this would have fit their agenda. This doesn't fit their agenda. This has not made the news feed east of the Mississippi River. I don't know how far east it's made it from California, but it's definitely not over here. This does not meet their agenda. They do not. The media has not posted the story on the East Coast.
Well, it is on CNN. That was actually the story that I just shared. Was on CNN. It was on CNN. It is in Associated Press.
Again, no. I'm not saying they're not picking it up, Craig. I'm saying the news feeds. It's not in the East Coast news feeds. When you go look up and news feed and scroll down and look through, see Google's news, MSN news, and go down through it. It's not being listed.
Right. So they're anticipating, first of all, they believe that there were multiple shooters. So they believe there were more than one, because you have some people saying, oh, it sounded like automatic gunfire. Well, it probably sounded like automatic gunfire because multiple people were shooting. I don't think people really understand just how hard it is to actually get access to an automatic firearm in the United States, which is especially but if you watch to get access to them.
Yeah. If you watch Vice, I can go buy one on wish.com. I can get one. It's super simple.
Yeah, I will tell you, the former police chief, Daniel Hahn, former police chief here in Sacramento, he was on a radio show this morning, and he pointed out, look, this is not just a gun. This is not just a gun thing. He's like, there's multiple issues. Like, why is it that it seems like all of a sudden there is a certain segment of society that feels like, and when I say certain segment, I'm talking about young black and brown men predominantly, not solely, but predominantly, who feel like there is a need to inflict violence upon people. When you get angry, when you get frustrated, whatever it is, but there seems to be this. There seems to be this, how do we deal with this, right? There seems to be this thing. It's about people. It's not about guns. A gun is just a tool, right? The largest mass casualty event in the United States did not involve firearms. It actually involved explosives. These are people who were dead set on causing harm to people, right? Mm-hmm. If they did not have, what they did was they wanted to hurt people. They made a plan, they obtained the tools, and they went out and they hurt people, right? If they did not have guns available to them, guess what they would have done, Mike? They would have made a plan. They would have obtained tools, and they would have went out and hurt people.
Yeah. Like using airplanes or blankets filled with smallpox in it.
Or, Mike, how about just using a car?
Yeah, no, exactly right. Yeah, it's just a tool, Craig. That's all it is. It's just a tool.
Right. And we don't want to deal with the root causes, because if we start talking about root causes, well, then all of a sudden you have to get away from quote unquote guns. You'd have to start looking at the fact that, I don't know, we've made it a history in the building right across the street from where the shooting took place. I'm referring to the Capitol building for the state of California. You have a bunch of politicians who have spent the last half a decade or decade or so decriminalizing crime and letting criminals out on the streets, right?
Yep. Craig, listen, it's also it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't meet the it does not meet the agenda. Listen, it's minority versus minority crime. It's no different than Chicago this weekend, 8 killed, 8 shot and killed. Again, Greg, it's not sexy. It's not some innocent old white lady or young kid walking through getting shot. This was minority versus minority, and your politicians. Listen, liberals, you can laugh about it and deny it all you want. Your politicians don't care about you at all until it's time for your vote. They don't care about you in between. And the only president we've ever seen do anything about that in the last 50 years, you voted out of office because you don't like mean tweets. So
Right.
this is what you get.
And Mike, to be clear, we don't know what the suspects look like, but if we are going by the odds, if we're going by what we know about most events like this, we know that it was probably gang related. We know that it was more than likely young men. In particular, we know there was more than likely young men. It was probably young men of color if it was gang related. If it was just some, that's what we know. Now, if it was a desire to do mass shooting and yada yada yada, well then maybe that changes. But we know what we know in terms of the numbers, the odds, and the statistics. And if we want to start talking about dealing with underlying causes, we have to go with what we know.
From the little bit of facts that I did read, Craig, it doesn't sound like like you said, a singular shooter, which makes you tend to believe it's gangs because bullets were going both directions, not just one. Mass shooter would be bullets going one direction. There's always the other. There could be a concealed carrier that was there, but with bullets going both directions, it makes it sound like it's a gang or crime involved.
Right. So we shall see, folks. But what we do know is this. What we do know is that the anti-gun left will come out and they will seek to come after guns. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, okay, what else are you going? What else can you take from us here in the state of California?
Oh, yeah, they'll come up with another law. Listen, they'll blame this on Oregon. They'll say that in Oregon, you don't have the same laws as California, and they just drove up there to get their guns. Because, that's what criminals do, Craig. They drive to other states, fill out a 4473, where they're not allowed to purchase a handgun in a different state and bring it back, because they're going to blame it on Oregon.
Well, yes and no, because actually Oregon has instituted some of the anti-gun laws that we have here in California, but even with that,
nowhere near as much as
that's a big one. Like in Indiana, like Chicago always blames Indiana for the gun violence or the violence with firearms that takes place in Chicago, right? But my question is always this: so if the gun laws are the problem, why don't we see that same exact issue occurring in Indiana? Do you know why we don't, Mike? Because it's the people of, not all the people, but it's people in Chicago whose desire it is to victimize other people utilizing firearms. So they go and they get the guns. They may go and get the guns somewhere else. But the problem is still the people in Chicago who want to victimize other people. That's the root problem, not the tool.
Yep. Yeah, listen, again, Chicago, in the last couple of days, 47 shot, 8 killed. So it's not sexy, Craig. It's not the narrative.
Well, there you go. Well, once again, the shooting that took place in Sacramento, it isn't even, it's not even a Chicago weekend. And that's sad. That is sad to say. And I realize that's a crass comparison, but think about then what the people in Chirac are dealing with.
That's right.
On the daily. Right. On the daily.
Yep.
All right. Moving right along. I know you guys were wondering when you saw this one. Hunter Biden goes to Congress. No, Hunter Biden is not running for Congress. Hunter Biden actually seems like, he may be invited to go to Congress to testify as an expert. That's right. They want him to testify on his expertise on cobalt mining because, we all know that he got his appointment. He got his job there working with this company in China because he is an expert in this particular field. Now, we know, Mike, that this is a stunt. We know it is. They just want to get Hunter Biden in front of Congress, number one. But number two, they want to demonstrate that, he doesn't really have any expertise in this area. At least that's what I'm guessing.
Craig, ironic you say that Hunter Biden goes to Congress. I just heard that he's leading the vote in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania right now. So for him going. So they've already found some missing ballots after midnight, ready for Hunter Biden to go to Congress.
Were his fingerprints
Um,
on a crack pipe left there? Is that what it was?
it's right on top of his laptop. Uh, yeah, listen, I hope this guy is an idiot enough that I'll go up there and show them that I know all about Ukrainian gas companies and or whatever cobalt mining they want to bring him up there for, and just swear him in. Although they don't swear the witnesses in, right? It's just they just bring them depending on what kind of hearing it is. They just bring them up to get their oral testimony. So yeah, this would be great. Listen, this would be one of those old-fashioned clown movies, like where you literally had, Mr. Smith, the monkey goes to Washington or whatever it was. You sending the chimpanzee up there. This would be nice to see him come forward. I love that's an actual formal invitation to come forward. And from whose office did this come from? This came from Representative James Comer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is that would work. That would work. Yeah, come on up, buddy. Come on. We'll give you a ride, Hunter. There's a ride. You get lunch. You get lunch also, and we'll have parting gifts for you when you leave. So
it shouldn't be lost though that this letter was actually sent on April 1st. Let's not.
That's all right. Hunter won't know the difference. Hunter won't know the difference. So.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I think it would be interesting if he had ego enough to be stupid enough to actually go before Congress and testify, because I would hope that Congress would have the sorts of questions available for him that would demonstrate that he knows absolutely nothing about cobalt mining. But I always look at it this way. This was a very good PR move, but if there's a way to screw it up, Republicans will generally find a way to do it.
Oh yeah. But I why not? Let's get him there, right? Let's
give it the old college try, huh?
Yeah, let's see. Maybe he'll be walking. Maybe he'll be visited on the way to visiting dad, and pops into the House chambers to ask for directions, and boom, they can get him to sit down. That's it.
There you go.
Oh, sir, sit over here. No, the president said he'd be coming right out to meet you. Just have a seat right here. Yeah, that would work.
All right. So some of you may have not known this, but in California, they had actually passed a law that required diversity on various corporate boards in the state of California. In other words, you had to have a certain percentage of women, certain percentage of minorities, gay, LGBTQ, QI plus, and counting.
Are you making those up?
If I got it right, it was only because I was just shouting out. I was just giving terms. Anyway, but they required that. Well, a court in Los Angeles. Now, this is a Los Angeles Superior Court, which is interesting. So this wasn't even necessarily a federal court, has ruled that California's boardroom diversity law is, in fact, unconstitutional, which makes absolute sense to require that a private entity for them to say you have to have a certain ethnic makeup on your board, on your corporate board. First of all, what the heck does that have to do with corporate profitability, number one? But number two, what the heck does it have to do with, what is the government's business? Why do they get to say who gets to serve on your corporate board when, obviously the goal of that corporate board is to pass policies that increase the profitability or maximize the profitability of that company?
It's clearly unconstitutional, Craig, and it's come out of Los Angeles, like you said, which is surprise enough. But you know what I'm hearing from the people of Los Angeles? You know what I'm hearing from the Los Angeles Superior Court? I'm hearing them say it's unconstitutional for you to say, I'm putting only a black female on the Supreme Court, and that's the only one I'm going to nominate. Wait a second. Hold on. You're talking about diversity of court members? You're telling me I can't select the best qualified candidate, that I must take a black female? Now, listen, she may end up being the number one out of 100 people, but we don't know because she only competed against 3 other black females for this position. All right. You're telling me that the people of Los Angeles and the people of California agree Now with the conservative party and with Republicans, that it's unfair to use reverse diversity like this and narrow your field for the candidates to go into a particular position.
Well, it's not reverse diversity; it's reverse discrimination, is what it is. And whenever you discriminate, what you wind up doing is you wind up, in essence, lowering your standard because what you're saying
Yes.
is, I don't care what your qualifications are, I don't care how qualified you are. We're going to disqualify people if you don't meet a certain racial standard.
Yes.
Um, or in this case, racial and gender standards. So we
Yes.
don't know who are the qualified people who were not considered, who might be more qualified than the candidate that they are currently considering. And by the way, which will be eventually up for a vote, I believe, sometime this week. Um, it, it I'm not saying that she is not the most qualified. I'm saying that we don't know who else could have or should have been considered because, well, hey, I mean, the minimum qualification is you got to be a U.S. citizen over a certain age, and that's really about it.
Yeah, right. And listen, I'm just going by the statistics. Let's see, if African Americans make up, what is it, 10 to 12% of the population, you divide that in half by a woman, so 5 to 6%. So instead of looking at 100% of the possible candidates for this, I get to look at 5 to 6% of the possible candidates.
Right.
That's what happened here. That's crap. Yeah, and we see this in the city of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying it's illegal there, and it's illegal, unconstitutional there, unconstitutional in California, but it's okay for our federal government to do this to us.
Right. Well, exactly. Well, and once again, now here they are in the corporate boardroom now trying
Yep.
to inflict that on private industry, and the courts have said no bueno. Sorry,
Yep.
but that is not going to happen.
Yep. Here's your papers. Start walking. Yep.
Get your papers. Start walking.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
All right. Well, hey, once again, it just goes to show what happens when politicians, in this case California, which we all know California politicians do this, they've jumped the shark, and stuff like this. I'm not saying it didn't happen or couldn't have happened under Jerry Brown. I just know that he was the type of person that was like, okay, someone's got to be the adult in the room. It wasn't until Gavin Newsom became governor that they felt like passing these sorts of bills that once again are clearly unconstitutional. That was when they finally decided, okay, yeah, we can start doing this stuff because he's not interested in being the adult in the room. He's interested in being popular because he wants to be president one day. And I will just say this as a person who lives in California: if if you ever elect this Nimrod to become president of the United States, I feel for you. I feel for your. Anyway, this country will be in very, very bad shape should that ever happen. It's bad enough the president we got. This guy, trust me, is worse.
Listen, the only presidency he's going to get is the presidency of his local homeowners association at some point. There's no,
Nah, even
there's
they
no
don't
way.
want it. Even they
No
don't
way.
want him around.
Yeah, well, it's a one house organization.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Next has to do. Okay, so you guys know that Texas passed a law, or a number of states now are passing laws that are restricting abortions past 15 weeks. In most cases, to protect the life of the mother, right? So, in other words, if the life or the health of the mother is in danger past 15 weeks, then they would still allow the abortion. But in this particular case, for other purposes, they are banning abortions past 15 weeks. And there is actually a new poll out, and this is from The Hill, which is once again not a left wing or not a right wing leaning publication, but they have noted that I'm sorry, this is a Wall Street Journal poll, so they are kind of conservative. But according to their poll, most Americans oppose abortion bans past 15 weeks. Oh, I kind of read that wrong when I put this together. I could have sworn it said that most of them support it. The poll said 48% said they strongly or somewhat favored. Okay, this is weird because this is now exception. Okay, 48% said they strongly or somewhat favored a 15-week abortion ban.
Yes, so 48%
Okay.
say we should ban abortions that are 15 weeks. Now, what they're saying, Craig, is
Oh,
we're
more
finding that
Americans
more.
support than oppose. Okay, never mind.
Correct.
I read the
We're
headline wrong.
finding that we have the reverse of what we saw back in the late 60s, early
Yes.
70s. That we now have more people in favor of pro life than
Yes.
we do pro choice. So the nation seems to have shifted to, whether it's I don't know, the millennials, or maybe it's people that you know for whatever reason, religion is less in society now than it was then. But we now have more people that are pro-life than are pro-choice.
Well, I think some of it, Mike, has to do with the science, and that we know more now
True.
about
Yeah.
fetal health, fetal. We know more about babies in the womb, and we know more about. I don't know that we necessarily have nailed down for the majority of people when life begins, but I
Right.
think that we have enough evidence that people are willing to err on the side of protecting innocent life.
Yes.
And there's enough evidence to show that there's more than likely life at 15 weeks,
Yep.
and that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right. I think maybe it's, we keep hearing the science, the science, the science. We're getting beat up with the science, right? Half of it, which is false science, if you listen to what we got going on with that thing with the K. Remember that thing that starts with a K, COVID.
Right,
Um, I don't want to say the other one because we'll get banned.
right.
But yeah, right. If you listen to the science, and it is much more perfected now. Listen, in the late '60s, early '70s, you knew somebody was pregnant, right? That's what you got. Somebody was pregnant. Now you've got down to sonic imaging of the child, right? You could see the face, the hands, and everything when the child's as little as 3 months in the womb. It is much more definitive that there's something there, and there's somebody inside of that, or someone inside that womb. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's that combination of science and imagery that has let the youth know, and adults, that there really is life. This is not just some unseen thing that we can get rid of.
Well, Mike, and it's there's a reason why, for example, you have folks like Planned Parenthood who fight against informed consent legislation that
Right.
would require. Look, you should have to get an ultrasound and look at the ultrasound just so that you know exactly what it is that you are
Yeah.
terminating when you decide to terminate your pregnancy in the womb.
Yep.
I always say this: people talk about, oh, the right to choose, the right to choose. Let's call it what it is: the right to choose to end a baby's life in the womb. That's what
Yes.
it is. That's what you're
Yeah.
choosing, right?
Yep.
Let's what I'm hoping, because what we're going to see if Roe v. Wade is overturned, which there's a good indication that it could be. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, we're not going to see abortion end in the United States, because there are a number of states like California that already have strong abortion laws that will kick in and now become the kind of the fallback in states that are pushing abortion. In fact, California is going the
Yes.
exact opposite. They're making it a sanctuary state. They're talking about paying to fly people into California to get abortions.
Because they got all the money in the world to do it. Yep.
Right, because we got all that money. Um, but they're so that's what they're talking about. But at least I'm like this: reasonable people can disagree on whether or not abortion should be legal. But we can't even have that debate because they're saying it's a constitutional right. That there is no debate. There's no on the we're not even supposed to have a conversation about it. Well, at least now
Yeah.
we can start to have this conversation, and we can actually look at the science and argue the science, as opposed to right now, where they're just saying, oh, well, it's just a right, and therefore you don't get to have any say, you don't get to have any discussion, because they don't want to have discussion, because they know that the facts are not on their side.
Yeah, let's be clear on this, Craig. Abortion is not a constitutional right. That keeps
No.
gaining foothold. I don't know why. If I would listen, I was $1,000 right now. If anybody could show me where in the Constitution it says abortion is a constitutional right. If you could show me where it says my body, my choice in the Constitution, I'll give you $500. All right, it's not. But that's what they want to lend you to believe. So you'll back off, because guess what? You're kind of uninformed. If somebody
Right.
tells you something's a constitutional right and you're not sure, you're uninformed, and that's when you should say, well, hold on a second. I'm going to go take a look. I'm going to take a peek.
Well,
I'm going to bring
I,
up Constitution and
I,
do Control F. See if abortion's in there. No, it's not.
I would not necessarily say uninformed, or rather misinformed, because they've been led to believe that the 14th Amendment creates this right to privacy, which then makes somehow abortion a constitutional right. And I think any objective legal analysis will tell you that a bunch of legal scholars will look at you and say, yeah, that was not rooted in constitutional law. That was
Right.
rooted in that was more rooted
Case
in
law.
people's desire to legislate from the bench.
Yeah, that's case law and interpretation. That's
Right.
not constitutional law.
Right.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No.
Okay,
No.
let's move on to our parting shot today. And there's a
Oh,
couple of
wait.
items here that I think.
Wait. I want to give you a little preview first before we hit to the parting shots, because these are really good parting shots. I know, Craig, did you catch this weekend Governor Hogan in Maryland opening up his trap and falling for it?
Oh my God! I like if I said if there was a way for Republicans to screw up, here's an example. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, this. I guess he was asked by Dana Bash over on CNN some questions about Ron DeSantis's programs, and he really didn't know him too well, and he kind of opened his mouth and threw some bad words in the direction. This Republican governor, by the way, about private property rights and freedom of speech, and criticized Ron DeSantis. And the reason we haven't bringing you the story yet is because Governor DeSantis' office, Captain Florida's office, has not responded. But here's your preview. As soon as they do, we'll bring you the Governor Hogan smackdown. Is probably what we'll be calling the headline when it pops up. So back to you, Craig.
It's going to be fun, but you know what? I'm like this. I want to see. I want to report on the actual fight. So a blow has been struck, and I'm just looking forward to the counter. When you know the counter is going to be better than the initial blow, you got to kind of wait for the counter.
Yeah. Yep, exactly right. So we'll have the full story as soon as, like you said, the Governor DeSantis' office responds.
Okay. So speaking of Governor DeSantis, you know that he and by the way, this was all related to the quote unquote "Don't Say Gay" bill, or the Parental Rights and Education bill that was passed by the Florida legislature and signed into law by Captain Florida. Well, not only is the Republican governor of Maryland got things to say, but evidently there are a bunch of liberal teachers in Florida who have decided that they've had all they can stand, they can't stand no more. They're packing up their things and they're walking off the job after he signed the bill. Okay, I know for those of you who cover your kids' eyes, they don't need to see this. Oh,
unbelievable!
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
I saw some stories down here in Florida. I guess we get a lot more local of the feely good, touchy stories, and they were interviewing some of the teachers, and they had this one mid-20s guy standing there with his boyfriend / husband, whatever it was, and his complaint was, now I won't be able to talk to my students about my husband, and and they were clearly homosexual, right? And the responses overwhelmingly were like, why are you talking to your kids about your home life at all?
Right.
Teach. Here's what we want you to do.
Look,
teach.
When I was in school at that age, before the third grade, when I was in school back then, as far as I knew, my teachers ceased to exist when I left school.
Yes.
I didn't know anything, nor did I care anything about what happened. They were part of a play that was put on for my amusement, right? I showed up at school, they were there. As far as I knew, they slept in the classroom. I didn't need to know anything else beyond that. And guess what? Kids don't need to know anything else beyond that now.
Yep. Listen, were they good people? Were they personable? Yes. Were they effective instructors? Yeah, that I knew. It wasn't a robot up there.
Right.
And I can still remember, those teachers. But ask me if they were married and kids and anything. No, let's build the blocks and paint the colors and do what we're supposed to be doing at kindergarten through third grade. Let's get them that reading, writing, and arithmetic done.
Exactly. But hey, now it is. You know what? Anyway, let's move on to our second parting shot. We're all about accountability here, right? I'm like, own your stuff, right? I'm all about own your it with the SH in front of it. Own it. Own your stuff, right? And apparently at one point, Joe Biden was about owning your stuff, but not any longer. Oh, by the way, for those of you who are just listening, the last parting shot, it had Steve Carell from The Office was leaving and walking out, and he had a blow-up friend under his arm, a nude blow-up friend under his arm as he was leaving, and that was representative of the liberal teacher. So just thought you folks, who are listening and don't have the benefit of seeing the program, you might benefit from that. But now we have Joe Biden. And here we go. Okay, this is Joe Biden, and this was April 17th, 2020. He says, Donald Trump continues to do the exact thing we teach our kids not to do, blame others. It's always somebody else's fault, never his. It's unbelievable. We deserve better from our commander-in-chief. That was from Joe Biden, a direct quote from Joe Biden. Now, at townhall.com on March 31st, 2022, this is a quote at townhall.com from Joe Biden. The problem we're facing with gas prices has two roots. First, the pandemic. The second root is Vladimir Putin. Now, Mike, none of that. Nowhere does he mention his policies regarding energy, his energy policies, where he basically said we're going to put petroleum, we're going to put fossil fuel companies out of business. He didn't mention any of that at all.
If you went to him right now and showed him his April quote from 2020, he would say, "I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that." How do we know that? Because that's what he does every time he's challenged by reporters, and they say, "Sir, when you said this," he says, "I didn't say that. I didn't say that." So this guy's he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, folks. It's troublesome to see that we have somebody with dementia, or Alzheimer's, or the forward signs of it, and that we continue to say no, it's okay, it's all right, or no, he's good, put the blinders on, we're okay.
Mm-hmm. But at least we don't have mean tweets.
That's no mean tweets, so we've got that going for us. Yeah.
All right, Mike. It's about that time, so it's time for us to give a shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hey to our good friends at Guerrilla Machining, Grid Defense, and of course, the fine folks at the California Republican Assembly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please check them out. Visit them. Their websites are in the description to this video. Check them out and let them know that the guys over at the Rundown sent you. With that, we're going to call it a day. We very much appreciate y'all tuning in. We appreciate you liking, sharing, and subscribing, and encouraging your friends to do the same. Remember, this is the place for 2A news and conservative views. We will be back to you mañana.